So welcome to the Masood Entrepreneurship Centre at Alliance Manchester Business School, part of the University of Manchester. We are delighted to welcome Beth Barnes, co-founder of Alternative Football, winner of the Masood Entrepreneurship Centre's Venture Further competition and current PhD student at the University of Manchester's Faculty of Biology, Medicine and Health. Thank you for joining us today to get an insight into your journey and entrepreneurship. So first of all, let's start with kind of before university. Growing up, what was your first football memory and what impact did it have on you?
So I really didn't have much to do with football at all growing up. Probably the only memory of football I had was I think it was a World Cup and we got to skip lessons in primary school to watch it. But that was it. My parents, neither of them are interested in football or particularly sport in general. Girls weren't allowed to play football as I grew up at either primary or high school, so I never had any experience of it till I left my undergraduate degree actually. And then it's just kind of a very recent love of mine.
Oh, brilliant. And what about entrepreneurship? So when did you first come across the idea of entrepreneurship or social enterprise? Kind of what impact has that had on you?
Again, absolutely the same. Never thought I'd be a business person. Never thought I had any entrepreneurship in me. And it wasn't until I entered Venture Further and suddenly this whole big ball started rolling, and before I knew it, I had my own business. So both of them, both football and entrepreneurship, have been two things that have come to me very late in life. Well, late in my, I guess, they're not from an early age, just maybe late in my academic career at uni.
Oh, great. And was it, so in terms of in that phase of it, were there any kind of role models in either football or sports or in business that you've looked up to in that, even if it's more recently at university or when you were younger?
Yeah, I guess my co-founder. So after COVID, I joined a football club called Manchester Laces that she'd set up, and she had this new idea basically that she wanted a football team where everybody's welcome. There's no kind of groups, there's no lad banter. It's all very inclusive. Just kind of really looking at a supportive environment rather than just how good you are at playing football. Because as someone that got to playing football late and being quite goofy, I've never been very good at it. So it was nice to come to this team where everyone's welcome. And I guess from there, she's like a self-made business person. She set up the league and we got going with that together, and I think she's someone I've really looked up to because she has these amazing ideas of just making everybody feel welcome in her business, and I think she's been a big inspiration.
Oh, brilliant. That's great. So when you talk about that coming to university, what was it that made you choose kind of your course at the university and the University of Manchester?
So I did my undergrad down in Wales at Bangor, but I wanted to come home because Manchester is where all my family are from. I have a 6-year-old sister, so I wanted to be close to home, and it was just kind of natural that I came back. I've always been interested in cancer research, so I did a cancer research master's first here, and then I met my supervisor and I stayed with him because I really like him. So I stayed with him for another 4 years, and it feels like home.
Oh, brilliant. And in terms of how did coming to Manchester and taking that course lead to alternative football?
Yeah, so I guess I left my undergrad and I came back to Manchester and I had no friends here anymore. We'd all moved away doing completely different things, and I think football teams were always quite a good place to make friends. We had COVID again. I was just lonely, so as soon as COVID ended, I wanted to join a football team, and that's how come I came across Manchester Laces, and that got everything all the way to AF. It all came from there, from Manchester Laces.
Oh, good. So tell us a bit about that from Manchester Laces then. What was the aim, and then how did that develop into what is alternative football now?
So Manchester Laces, as I said, it's an inclusive club. The aim is that there are no barriers to anyone being able to participate. But when we came to try and join the FA's Sunday League, they wouldn't let our team sign up because we had transgender women on the team. They said they weren't allowed to play, and we didn't think it was right that we would say, well, sorry, you can't play, but we're going to. So we kind of thought, well, screw the FA, we'll make our own league. Especially because we had a lot of beginner players, kind of like me, who maybe weren't quite up to 11-a-side Sunday League. So we thought we'll make a league which is aimed at women, non-binary and transgender people who maybe are beginners or looking to get back into the sport or just want somewhere more friendly and casual to play. So we made the league, and then it grew, and it's where it is today. It's just kind of taken off.
Oh, brilliant. And what are some of kind of the key kind of milestones or things that you've gone through during that process to get it where it is today?
So I was a player in the first season. My co-founder set it up in Whalley Range, the first league, I joined as a player, absolutely loved it. I thought this is great for my mental health. And a few months later I came across the MEC Venture Further competition, and I thought, I think, the AF League, we could actually make a business out of it. We could make it a social enterprise. We could, put our profit into mental health for women and trans and non-binary football players. And this could actually turn into a business rather than just, because it was just kind of a little 6 teams that we'd kind of just put together in a league. It wasn't anything, wasn't a proper business. So I entered MEC, and then after a few months won it, and we got the startup funding. And I guess that was the biggest milestone. Was I became co-founder, started up my own league in North Manchester, and a few months later started up another of my own leagues in Liverpool, and now it's just kind of keeps on rolling. Yeah, I think we're about 6 seasons down the line, a year later.
Oh, brilliant. Sounds incredible growth from like I said, it started with 6 teams and to where it is today. What is it then? Because there's quite a difference from someone who enjoys playing football, enjoys socially, the interaction, the friendships and everything that comes with that, to going, actually, do you know what, I'm going to do something different here. We are going to turn this into a social enterprise, and this is something that we want to grow. What was it that kind of made you or helped you make that step and that change to make it into something more than just playing football?
I think it was my own experience, like how after, I think, like I said, after COVID I was pretty lonely, and football was this place where suddenly you've got people there, and then as soon as I got back in my car, I'd be like, where from that lovely environment of football, and after a few months it really improved my mental health. I was getting in the car and I was feeling fine going home, just because of those friends and community I've made. And I thought, well, if it can't just be me that's feeling like that. So I spoke to quite a few different people, and some of them gave me stories how it had even helped with drug and drink addiction, and some called it life-saving. I was like, well, if people are feeling like this just as it is, well, I think we should do more. We can stretch this out. We can make it reach more people. More people can feel empowered or connected through football. So I guess it was just an inspiration on how I personally, it changed my life.
Oh, it sounds incredible, and so many positive impacts that have come from everything for yourself and for others as well. So you probably touched on a few of those, but what have been some of kind of the best experiences that you've had so far on this journey?
Probably the little wins, like when you get people who come who have never played football before, they've literally never stepped on a pitch, and then a season later and they're scoring their first goal, or people who maybe haven't, especially trans and non-binary players who've really struggled to find somewhere to fit in. Suddenly they've got a team full of mates. One of them's even starting their own mixed gender 11-a-side league, and I think that's come partly through playing from the AF League. And just seeing how we just kind of had this little community that's kind of just spreading, and more people join and hear about it and say, oh, we heard it's really friendly. And I think it's those little kind of things, just seeing people grow and seeing people connect and feeling happy, that kind of, I think that's my favourite bit, really.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Yeah, it sounds brilliant. Like I said, bringing people together in so many different ways. And I suppose alongside that journey then, what have been kind of some of the biggest challenges that you've faced so far?
So, as I said, I'd never had any business experience. I suddenly was I had a business dropped on my lap, I guess, and was like, oh, I got to actually do this now, and I don't really know how. And I think MEC have been a big support there, sending me on workshops and training courses and stuff, and that's helped. But I was also really introverted, and I hated speaking. Couldn't speak to anyone, really. I think that was my biggest personal challenge, having to being someone who would rather just sit in the lab with my headphones on and not talk to anyone, to having 14 teams that I manage and having to actually manage them all, speak to them all, know everyone's names, be present, and that's been quite hard for me to kind of come out my shell a bit and feel comfortable around everybody, I guess.
So being in those kind of a completely new situation where you're looking at things from a business perspective and having to communicate, present, and stand up in front of lots of people, and in terms of different types of presentation skills and things like that, how did you overcome those challenges where you maybe were a little bit uncomfortable in the past, but what did you do to overcome those?
I found it absolutely terrifying, and I sweat a lot, and I just went and did it. I guess every time I was just like, I've got this, and I think the more I forced myself to do it, the easier it became. It was just one of those where I just kind of threw myself into it and was like, well, I've got to do it because I want this business to succeed. So I did. I've been in Q&A panels. I've done workshops for kids and stuff like that, and I've done pitching, and it's just got easier as time's gone on. And I still get nervous every time beforehand, absolutely like terrified. But then you get used to it, I think, yeah.
Oh, brilliant. And then so with that and those different experiences, what types of kind of skills or things have you developed then with those different experiences that you've had?
A lot of like people management skills. There's a lot of, I guess I've never had any experience with that, but managing the teams and the players, whether that's through the captains or the teams themselves. You know, you really have to work on how you manage people and how you treat them, how you sort out maybe disputes, how you listen to them and how you communicate back. And I've had to learn to like be very diplomatic at times and, you know, really remove myself from being there as Beth as like the mate to being Beth like, you know, the business boss, and having to be quite professional. I think they were some really important skills that I've learned, and I think they'll be good going on further into life, wherever it may take me. I think there's some really crucial things that I've learned.
Absolutely. And then, see, in terms of those skills on the journey, and you've mentioned MEC before. So how did you first become aware of MEC, and then how has that had an impact on alternative football?
I was a student rep for my course, and I was just in a division leadership team meeting, and someone mentioned Venture Further, and before that I'd never heard of MEC. Like I said, I just kind of sat in my lab, didn't really get involved in much outside of that within uni. I heard it, I gave it a quick Google and thought this sounds great. And from, I guess, entering, still not knowing much about MEC, suddenly everyone was getting in touch. Like Jess and stuff from MEC were getting in touch and giving me like Zoom meetings and stuff to help and workshops, and they just really, I guess, I felt like kind of, like they really believed in me. I don't think I believed in myself back then at all, but everyone from MEC was proper like, this is great, and really pushed me forward. And I don't think without them I probably would have, not like regardless of the competition, I don't think I would have got anywhere. So yeah, I was very grateful I heard of them.
And what was that like? They went from hearing about it to the competition to the following stages. Talk us through that process. Was it quite quick, or was it something that just happened there and then?
It was very quick. So it was actually the deadline day of the competition when I found out about it. It was like literally the next day at 12 p.m. So I had 24 hours. So I sacked off my PhD work. I went home and I stayed up all night till about 4 a.m. doing the application. Got a few hours sleep, woke back up, finished it off, sent it in. And I was like, well, I've done a thing. And then suddenly I was through to the next stages, and everyone was getting in touch, like I said, with different workshops and pitching help and stuff like that. I think the competition itself took a few months till we found out a winner, but it was like a crash course in business and everything I'd need to know. Profit and loss and all these big business words I'd never heard of, and I was Googling them all, like, what does this mean? So that was all pretty quick, and then from there we got the league set. We won in May, got the second league set up by September, and it just all moved really quickly. Yeah, it just kind of blew up as soon as I sent that application in. Suddenly, from nothing, just all this activity, and it was, yeah.
So with that process, and you were saying the different workshops, what were the types of things that you did in the workshops, and how has that helped you, not just in Venture Further, but for what you're doing now?
There was a lot of support with pitching, because obviously the final part of the competition was actually doing a pitch to like people from CEOs from different businesses. So we had pitching workshops, and we did like financial workshops, stuff like networking. I'd never networked a day in my life. It sounded horrific, and MEC kind of pushed me to come along to some networking things, and I stood there awkwardly in the corner at first, but it's all really helped. And I think since then, like, whether that's for the business or for my PhD, suddenly I go into a room and I'll talk to people, and I'm confident pitching or writing grant proposals, whether that is again for the business or for my PhD work. And I think I'm looking forward to when I graduate and go into like a place in industry and being like, I have all these skills that no other PhD student in science really has. So I think that's something that I'm quite proud of.
Oh, brilliant. And what was it like then? So you've gone through the first round, you've developed all of these elements, learnt about business planning, next steps and things to take, and then it came to what was the day like itself for the Venture Further at the final when you found out about the different nominees and things that were going on. What was that day like for the Venture Further?
For the pitching?
For the pitching, and then for the kind of the dinner itself.
Okay. So the pitching out, I was actually away at another workshop for my PhD. I was in the Lake District on like a residential trip. So I just kind of snuck away, and I was in the hotel lobby on my laptop, doing it from there. And the judges were absolutely lovely. They were like really supportive as well. I think that's something throughout the whole competition. Everyone was very supportive. No one put you down. No one told you, this idea is rubbish. Everyone just went, wow, you can succeed, and really pushed you on. And then the day of the awards, I think we both thought George with the Black Excellence Network, who was in our group, was going to win. We were like, oh, he's definitely got it, because he's got this amazing tutoring network going that tutors, I think it's like high school kids and college kids to get to further education, especially for like medical students and stuff like that. And we were like, oh yeah, he's won. And then when we won, it was a bit of a big shock, and again it was just a flurry of activity with people coming giving me business cards and talking to me and wanting pictures and interviews, and I was like, whoa. But it was great. I think we were very shocked and felt very lucky.
Oh, brilliant. Well, the evidence, obviously the amount it's grown since, and the positive impact you've had on so many people, it sounds brilliant, and more than a worthy winner, with everything that is. So what is it then? What's next for you? So you're completing the PhD, yeah, what's next for you?
Great question. Yeah, well, I graduate next year. I'm hoping to take a lot of the skills I've learned running AF and put that into a role where I maybe manage operations, kind of the business side of science, which is something I'd never considered before. I always thought I was just going to be in a lab, but actually it turns out I don't like that. I like the business side, I like the pitching, I like talking to people, I like running that whole side of it. And that's been a big surprise, I think, to me. So I'm going to go and try and find a job where I can put those skills into practice. And then I just want to make the league bigger and better constantly. We are trying to develop a mental health and inclusivity workshop, which first we're like getting out to our players, and then we're hopefully going to take it across the UK. That's something we've been trying to work on with part of the funding that we got from MEC, so that hopefully we can make other football teams as inclusive as like kind of the environment that we've made. So really going to focus on that as soon as I graduate and I've got some free time on my hands.
Brilliant. And just a final couple of questions, kind of questions from us. So what is the best advice that you have been given?
I think it was probably to just go for it. So I think that was the advice that I got off a lot of people from MEC was, don't put yourself down. You've got this. Just go for it. Just try. You'll succeed. And I think that really helped, that motivation. I think I needed someone there to kind of push me and to say, no, you've got it. Keep going. Else I don't think I'd have had the balls. Maybe I think I might have been like, oh no, this isn't for me. But yeah, that was probably just do it. If you've got an idea, if you've got something that you think could work, just try. And even if it fails, you've going to have learned so much from the process that you can go again next time and you'll make it better. I think that's something quite important.
Brilliant. And what advice would you give to your younger self, just starting at the University of Manchester? What advice would you give to your younger self?
Don't put your eggs in one basket. Don't think you're going to be a lab scientist and that's where you're headed. I think be open to opportunities. Don't be scared when you're in a networking room. Talk to people. You never know what opportunities will actually come your way that you were never expecting, the things that just come out of nowhere, because that's definitely what's happened. I think if I'd have planned out my 4 years at the Uni of Manchester when I started, it would have been a completely direction to where I've ended up. I think just to keep that open-mindedness, just let things happen.
Brilliant. And one last question. So, what does entrepreneurship mean to you?
I guess to me it's actually more about, so obviously there's having the business and making the business itself, but I think to me it's more what your business can do for everyone else and how your entrepreneurship can help people. I really like the idea of social enterprises. I think there's something really great about having a business which can either provide for you or provide a job for you, but you're actually helping society or the community, your community at the same time. I think everything I do in terms of entrepreneurship or the business is always with the players at the league in mind. How we can improve their lives, how we can improve their time at football, how we can just make anything better, whether it's really cold at the minute, so like bringing hot drinks to make sure no one's cold on the sidelines, whether it's one of our trans or non-binary players having issues with like inclusion and kind of trying to help them. I think it's less about, for me, it's less about, well, it's definitely not about making money. We don't make a single penny of profit at the minute. It's just about the actual community side of business and how you can help. I think if more businesses kind of focused on how they could help people rather than making money, the world might be a bit of a nicer place. So.
Brilliant, and no, what a great note to finish on, and thank you very, very much for coming down today and doing the podcast with us and taking these questions. So thank you very much.